At the end of the day, demand drives supply. So we focus quite a bit on demand. We did this at UBS Evidence Lab survey follow-up. So a couple months ago, we looked at demand for the new phones. We found it was good, but a little more tepid than I might have expected. But the survey was taken in October, which was before the 10 shipped, although it had been announced. But customers hadn't seen reviews, et cetera. So we went in December and did a follow-up survey, and we're finding that demand, particularly for the 10 in the US, China, and the UK, is substantially better than our prior survey found, and that it could be 40% plus of the mix. As far as the supply side, it's been particularly volatile this cycle for some reason. Remember, back in summer, there were concerns that they couldn't even make the 10, that they might be supply constrained into March, and already the company's caught up. So I think they deserve some kudos on the manufacturing side. There is talk of a recent pullback in production, but frankly, the numbers had gotten so high they didn't make much sense. So at the end of the day, I come back to the demand side, and we think it's looking pretty good.
So let's get to this processor flaw, Meltdown and Spectre, that affects a lot of high-performance computing systems, not just from Intel, but Intel has been a focus. Apple's Macs, of course, all use Intel chips. Its iPhones and iPads don't, but those are affected as well because they're high performance. Now, it seemed to me, I assumed all of Apple's products were affected. The stock is up today. Is that perhaps because Apple seems to have this in hand and they're saying the performance hit is going to be nowhere near the 20 to 30% that some feared?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, there's been a couple things here that have kind of hit Apple in the headlines, but I think investors tend to view them a little bit as noise. You've got the microprocessor issues, which of course aren't unique to Apple. It's really the microprocessor companies like Intel and AMD that have the issue, and Apple seems to be responding in a timely manner. Then you also have the flap about the batteries, where Apple perhaps could have been more transparent in what they were doing for customers. I don't think there's anything evil in what they were doing, or they were trying to shorten the product life, but they could have been more transparent. And from an investor standpoint, there is some risk that because you can now replace the battery for $29, it could lengthen upgrade cycles a little bit. But at the end of the day for Apple, what we focus on is the growth in the installed base and the retention rate, which is still 90% or so. So Apple's growing its customer base and it's keeping those customers, and as long as that's the case, you're in good shape.
Steve, certainly true that the stock has shrugged off a lot of the noise related to supply chain and the security concerns, all the rest of it. I do wonder, though, if in the next few months we're going to pretty much have a good idea what this upgrade cycle looked like with the 10 and all the rest of it. Is the stock going to start to have one of those lulls that it's had in past cycles?
You know, it's possible that the stock could have a low. You know, we do think this is not going to be a super cycle year. We're looking for good unit growth of 10%. What helps Apple is, number one, the ASP, the average selling price, is going to be up because of the 10. And that's going to drive maybe, 15% revenue growth just by itself. So 10% units, 15% average selling price gets you to 25% revenue growth for the iPhone. The second thing that helps, I think, is the repatriation of cash. At some point, the company is going to come out and talk about how they're going to use that cash to repurchase stock. We're all going to go to our calculators and sort of figure out what the increment to earnings is from that. And I think that could maybe carry us through what otherwise might be a lull until we get to the next product cycle next September.
Hey there, thanks for checking out CNBC on YouTube. Be sure to subscribe to stay up to date on all of the day's biggest stories. You can also click on any of the videos around me to watch the latest from CNBC. Thanks for watching.